So please welcome Corin Grillo to the show. Welcome, Corin.
Oh, thanks for having me, Ashley. It's great to be here.
You're so welcome, all the way from Mount Shasta, California. I've flown
Yeah.
over Mount Shasta. I've driven by it, but I've never spent time there. But I've heard that there's a magical energy there, right? Is that what
It,
is
you
drawing you
know,
to there?
the rumors are true. Yeah, I'm actually at my retreat property here. And, when Spirit guided me to look at retreat properties, I hadn't even spent time up there. And when I saw the mountain, I just broke out in tears. And I was like,
Huh.
okay, there's something to it. And, having people here on retreat, absolutely. There's a lot of amazing magic. So if you're so inclined, I highly recommend.
Oh, neat. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard, there's certain areas, like my friend just visited Sedona and she said, oh, the energy there is just this, you can't even explain it. And I feel like there's certain areas in this country that exude that some magic, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Shasta is known as the root chakra of the planet.
oh, I
So,
didn't know that.
yeah. Yeah. So it's one of the, one of those energy centers of the planet itself. So it's really interesting because I do a lot of root work here.
Hmm.
Um, and, uh, and abundance and all of that stuff. So it's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, I was introduced to you through your book, your latest book, this beautiful book that I've had by my side for last month, Angel Wealth Magic. I want to go into that, but first, I have told you before we hit record that yes, I've been reading your book. Yes, I did the 11-day ritual experiment or whatever you call it.
Mhm.
And because I love doing that, and I've seen magic in my life when I have surrendered and allowed and just trusted. And I believe in all of that. And I even teach my girls to talk to their angels. And, and when I say, if you're going into a test, like, now talk to your angels. And I said, I mean it. Like, I'm not just saying it, I mean it. But so you speak my language, but I always think in life, I'm 54 years old. I had two children later in life, one's 14 and 16.
Mhm.
And I look at your life too, kind of in a way that I just reflected on mine. They're not similar, but there's always this kind of parallel where there's a moment in our life that it kind of like wakes us up, we pivot, we learn, then we start to say, wow, this can be life. Like,
Yeah.
wow, I don't have to live like this. Life can really be a magical place that I can create and love and all the things. But so there's a couple places in your life where I feel like it started to wake you up. But I know your mom passed away when you were a teenager, and I know it wasn't a wealthy childhood. Your
Mhm.
dad was an alcoholic, but then I feel like I don't know, where do you want to start? Where do you feel like in your heart was when you had that moment?
Um, I feel like I had invitations when I was younger, but I wasn't in the place. I think the trauma and the negativity and the beasts were very well alive inside of me. So I passed the invitations. I think I had finally matured enough to receive this invitation. And this invitation was so big because it was an actual miracle that I witnessed. And at the time I was still suffering with depression. I was still a miserable person. But it was I witnessed a miracle and when I was, in my mid 30s. And that seriously changed the game.
That
That's
was the birds. The
that was
bird?
that was the yeah,
Okay.
that was the birds. And I'm a psychotherapist, so when you witness a miracle, you can't help but to go, am I having a psychotic episode?
Right.
What's what's going on? And but yeah, it took me a while to actually come clean with that miracle, to actually discuss it with other people. And Spirit kept urging me because after that incident, my spiritual gifts awakened more. And so I
Hmm.
could hear the voice of angels, or I could feel and sense when angels were in the room. And prior to that, I wasn't particularly religious or anything like that. It's not necessarily anything I was looking for, but it just kind of happened. So I had to kind of integrate my new self with my old self. And it took me a while to,
Right.
to do that.
But that was your mid-30s. But I want to go back to when you went to that magic school.
Oh yeah, the magic school. Oh my gosh.
Gosh, I just think of that. Like, I mean, I just feel like life was preparing you,
Yeah.
right? And you didn't even know it.
I didn't know it. I was so lost back then. Like I said, I was trying to stay out of trouble. It so didn't work. But, but yeah, I had a spiritual experience when I was younger. And I tried to kind of pursue it. And I think it got me to a certain place. But yeah, I studied magic. I studied Western magic, and I lived in a spiritual school, a magic school. And I did all the things. I was in deep study with all the things. But it wasn't, it wasn't focused on angels. And really it was about just 100% manifesting. And I realized later that what was missing was this love component, was this real surrender to a beautiful, magical, miraculous power. Because even in magic, you feel like you got to harness some things and
Right.
do all of these really intense rituals. I was doing rituals like 3 or 4 hours a day for like 4 years,
Oh,
and
wow.
trying to do a job. But, I really needed some kind of grounding. And that school was really good in teaching me about self-responsibility. And I think, based on my life before that, I definitely could have not gotten that lesson without that school.
Huh. But what drew you to going to that school? How old were you?
I was about 21, 22,
Okay.
23, like mid,
Okay.
22, 23. And I stayed for about 4 years.
Huh.
Yeah. So it drew me because like I said, I had a very powerful spiritual experience. But back then, it's like pre-internet, or internet was just starting. I didn't have a computer. There was not as much talk about things, like a Kundalini experience or spiritual awakening. So I really felt like I was kind of on my own.
Right.
And so I went on a journey of like, what happened. So I remember going to a bookstore in San Diego, the Psychic Guy bookstore.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and so I went there, and a flyer fell out, and it was a spiritual school of magic. And I was open to all things. And I always like love magic. I watched Bewitched,
Uh-huh. Me too.
um, and I already knew about this particular path because I was studying an oracle card deck called the Thoth deck. And so I recognized the symbology on the flyer. And so I decided to go for it and try it out. And, at the time I didn't have a mom. I didn't really have a foundation. I didn't have anything. I didn't have community. So, because I was new to the area. So it kind of covered a lot of bases on one, with one stone. So
Right.
yeah, we learned about spiritual things like tarot and things like that. But it was very kind of, in a way, what do I want to say, intellectual,
Right. Not love-based. I know what you're saying.
not
Yeah.
love-based. And still they talk about mysticism, but there wasn't people there who really had a depth experience or a full awakening, I guess is the best way to say it. So we're still kind of going on these old tradition, because it was a mystery school, old traditional texts, but not a lot of connecting the dots, if you will.
Right. But what was your awakening moment? What was your spiritual experience? The first one before the birds, and we'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that one's really very intense. I was riding as a passenger in a car. And again, I was really young. At that stage, I was probably 19. And I felt this fire inside of my stomach. And this intense panic started happening. I felt like whatever was in me was I was going to die. And the fire, eventually I quit resisting it. Luckily, I was not driving. And the fire moved up my spine, and then I felt as if it exploded my head, like a helmet kind of
Huh.
was removed, and there's all this energy. And again, I wasn't into spiritual things so much. So I really had no grasp of what was going on. And I felt the car, I heard a sound, I felt the car like lift and elevate. And then I started hearing a voice talking to me. Um, and and I was still conscious that there was my friend driving, but I was not able to tell him what was going on. I was able to have direct conversation with him, but I could, for one reason or another, I just could not
Huh.
say what was happening. So the voice showed me through imagery in the landscape. There was this incredible love. Like once I stopped resisting and I let the fire move through me, my heart opened hugely. Then I heard the voice and it started, I'm going to cry. Gosh,
Oh,
it started, I know, God, I never talk about this one publicly. Um, but no one's ever asked. So
oh,
um,
leave it to me.
it was the first time I experienced love.
Hmm.
And the love that it was so beyond.
Huh.
Because again, I was a girl who lost her mother just the year before and
Right.
um, and suffered so much trauma. You know, I was suicidal most of
Right.
that time. So to experience that level of love, which is still so profound,
Hmm.
was so much. So he took me through teaching. He taught me about, he showed me, he gave me this love, and then he took me to this realm of darkness where there was horned beings. I could see them projected all over LA. I was driving through LA at the time on the 10 freeway, and I saw these hell beasts, and I was starting to get afraid. And then my friend looks over to me and he said, "Don't be afraid. There's nothing to worry about." So I look over to him and I say, thank you, because I needed to hear that.
Wow.
And then he said, I didn't say anything. So he
Oh
didn't,
my gosh.
I know. And so they took me through, and then they showed me the higher planes. So they took me through the low one and showed me the higher planes. And then they said, everyone is poor. So they told me that the really rich people are poor too. And they're poor from this love. And so it was an all day experience. He was in communication with me. And at the end of the day, he showed me all of these beautiful things. And he said,
Hmm.
he, he told me that now I have to do this the long way, and that I was going to be on my own for a while. And and so what I took from that day was that there's something out of the ordinary. But I very quickly went back into my depression and in my self-sabotage.
Huh.
But there was something inside that was drawn towards exploring things. I felt that experience was an ET,
Hmm.
because that's the only really framework that I had, because it felt like I could feel this almost like a spaceship lifting, and a sound that sounded to me extraterrestrial, but you know, who knows the difference.
Right.
So anyway, so that sent me, I don't know what it gave me, because things just got worse after that. You
Did
know,
the guy that drove you, did he like clue in that you were having this experience?
no, because I couldn't say it out loud.
Huh.
But he did say things along the way, like, what's that sound? So I knew that it was happening, but that he couldn't totally see what I was seeing.
Hmm.
And he wasn't having, because I would check in like, hey, are you doing okay over there? Because I could see his shadow, and his shadow did not look human. And so I knew that I had encountered an intelligence. I didn't know what it was, but like I said, the heaviness put me back in my slumber quite quickly.
Mhm.
And I forgot I did my best to forget about it. It was very heartbreaking to go from a deep love experience back into my usual consciousness.
Right.
And so, I guess I learned about frequency, because that's the thing, is like he said, or what I learned was like this, it's like a feeling. And if you sink here, it's hellish. And if you sink up
Right.
here, it's better. So yeah, I still had to go through my trials and errors. And so I went into that school because of
Huh.
that experience.
Huh. Because you were wanting an answer.
I I was compelled to explore things beyond what is real, and then but what is physical. But I wasn't necessarily doing it consciously. Like, what happened to me, it was this compulsion.
Right.
But then at the end of that, the end of the school ended so badly that I left all the spiritual things behind for a
Hmm.
very long time. And it wasn't until that angel encounter that I realized that angels were real, that miracles were real. And it's so funny because I totally kind of dismissed that thing when I was 19.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, that's when I realized they're coming out to play, and it stuck around. It didn't leave me the same
Right.
the first rally did.
Right. When you tell that story, and because you hadn't told it, do you feel that love when you talk about it? Can you go back to that feeling?
Well, what's interesting is that I feel like I experience that now
Hmm.
in my life. And of course I still sink, but when that miracle happened, I experienced it again. When I in a totally different way, it was a different texture, but it was that profound love. And I feel that I am kind of more elevated, or my vibe is more elevated.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like that love, it happens, and that is my driving force to share what I do, because
Yes.
I
Oh,
feel like it's accessible to everyone. Because if it came to me, and after that first experience, within years, I'd like, and drugs, ended up in jail. Like like I said, he said,
right.
you're gonna, it's gonna be a while.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh. So, so then you're in the muck now after this experience. You're kind of in the lower vibration, experiencing um low vibration things. And you're getting married and you have children
Yeah.
during this time.
Yeah, after the school, I decided to leave the school and just be like a regular person, do like regular life things. So I had a kid, I got a career, um, and did the therapy, had kids, but I was still suffering.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
Okay, so then this woman you meet about the angel cards. This is before we have, right?
Yeah, so a friend of mine bought me an angel reading. And so this was when I was still suffering, but like on the surface, pretending like I can do normal things. And uh yeah, so yeah, I went into that session, and I felt such a lifting, such a sloughing off of emotions. And she told me, she said, when you leave today, you have a lot of angels. And and talk to the angels as if they're real, because they really want to talk to you. And I'm like, grain of salt, yeah, whatever,
Right.
And so but I did. And then the synchronicity started happening right away. The angel synchronicity started happening. And then within a couple of days of me just talking to them, just like they're real people, that's when I witnessed the miracle. And that is when the trajectory really changed.
Okay, let's tell everybody the magic moment about the bird.
Oh yes. Okay. So I write about it in my first book, The Angel Experiment. I write it in more detail than I'll share today. But yeah, I was driving to a client's house. I was county mental health professional, helping rescuing kids off the street. So I was driving through one of the bad neighborhoods, quote unquote bad, and but still talking to angels. And then a bird fell in front of my car and just landed on the pavement. So I look at the bird, and I'm like horrified. So I
Right.
drive around it, and I see the bird has a broken wing. And I was going to be late to my client's house. Plus, I don't know anything about birds, but I had all of this compassion pouring out of me because I've been working with the angels. So I was like lighter and already happy partying. So I decided to ask the angels to just at least put it out of its suffering. So I prayed for it. I drove around, and as I looked through the rearview mirror, I saw that the bird was kind of doing a little something, something on the ground, like kind of shimmying a little bit. So as I watched it, I watched the bird, a small bird. So the bird was about pigeon size. A
Okay.
small bird jumped up from the body of the bird, flew away. Then a second jumped up from the body of the bird, flew away. And then a third jumped up from the body of the bird, and then nothing was left on the ground. So I watched that
Wow.
bird turn into 3 healthy birds and fly away. And I saw with my eyes that it had a broken wing because it was like trying to get up.
Right. So that
Yeah,
moment was like,
that was it.
okay, Corinne, wake
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, but it wasn't just me seeing it. I could feel it. It was the effervescence. It was that love again
Hmm.
that I could feel. And so I knew that, and there was static in my hair. I knew that I was in the presence of something beautiful. And so I identified them as angels because that's who I was talking to for a couple of days.
Right. Wow. I mean, just listening to that story and picturing it. And for some reason, birds are like snakes to people. Birds are like that to me. Like they're fast and they kind of like, ah. And when I was picturing the car coming and hitting, that would always like break my heart. Right. So I'm in your mind, I'm watching, I'm feeling what you feel. But then to like really, talk to the angels and really pray and to see that moment. And I just, yeah, I was there with you. And I'm just like, oh, the whole meaning of birds changed for me. Yeah.
Yeah, for me too. I just thought, birds, just birds. But yeah, it was definitely a game-changing moment. And yeah, so when you see something like that, it's like, okay, if this is possible, what else is possible? If
Right.
that kind of miracle can happen to someone like me, who at the time I was drinking, a fifth of tequila every couple days.
Wow.
uh, I was, like I said, I was burning the candle at both ends, trying to exit the planet without officially trying to exit the planet still. And so, like, if they came to me in this way, then that means there's goodness for all of us. And, and I know, just like me, I turned away from my path a couple times.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. They're
and
definitely showing you back every
yeah,
time.
and so a lot of us turn away because our hearts close again, because this place is hard to live on. I
Right.
mean, for sensitives like us, and a lot of us are out there, the empaths out there, the magical creatures who don't really even realize we're magical. But we get so bothered by the bad behavior.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
When what was I was questioning during this time was your family. What were your children? I think it's close to my heart because I feel how old are you have 2 girls as well.
Yeah. So I have a 18-year-old and an 11-year-old.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. It-
So they were in the muck part, right?
well, my oldest was in the muck, but she was too young to remember the muck, because uh because the miracle happened when she was around three or four.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then you had your baby, your second one, a few years later,
Yeah,
and
she
raised
snuck in
her
there.
differently.
She snuck in there differently, huh?
And did you raise her right away? Like, so you began to raise them. That's my question, is how you raise them now. Cause I'm all about raising teenagers and kids. I mean, I was very intentional as a parent young, cause I knew all these, like, I want my girls to be ready and have these tools and, talk to the angels, believe in, have this confidence in them and have their values and know that, their affirmations and all the little magic tricks that we know. But is that how you raised your daughters?
Well, I kind of keep it an open playground. So I give them, just like I was invited, so I give them invitations to explore.
Right.
Um, but their perspective could be unique, and I want to encourage encourage that. So yes, I definitely, they know, and they're open to it. They know about their intuition. I always ask them, I always tell them to trust themselves. I try not to subvert their own intuition, with my own knowing. So yeah, it's really helped. They know about angels. They know about the allies, of the lands, and how birds, how to talk to birds, and because I've learned a lot since that miracle. But yeah, even last night, my daughter was going to ask someone to come to the prom. So I was on the phone with her for an hour, and we were working our magic together. She's like,
Oh,
Mom, I need your help. So they, at this age, they call you for advice when they really need something important. And that's when they're like, okay, we need all the magic in the world. So
yes.
they know that they have support, and there's good
Right.
medicine, and that, it's, and all the answers are in your heart. And if you learn how to work your heart muscle, things
Right.
go a lot better.
Right. So you were a psychotherapist, and then you just started to transform. You just started to become more of this healer, spiritual leader.
Yeah.
Tell me how that transitioned.
Well, it was 100% begrudgingly, because I was really committed to my old identity. You go through graduate school, you work your butt off for a license and all of that.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it was a transition, because I would be having psychotherapy. I was trying to do psychotherapy, gosh darn it. And then, I'd feel angels come in, and then, I would try to just deny it. And then eventually I just would ask someone, like, look, I know this is not what you're expecting, but, I feel like there's some messages coming through for you. And we're going to do something weird. Would you like to hear some intuitive messages? So I kind of broke the news. And then I started doing angel healing, because the angels encouraged me to, in the sessions. And then people's depression would disappear really
Right.
fast in the beginning. And so
Amazing.
then that encouraged me to just keep being honest about it. Just own who you are, even if it's kind of quirky and not everybody might get it, but the angels were not going away.
Right. What are you hearing when they talk to you? Is it a voice?
Well, it's mostly in the beginning, it's clairsentience for me. So a lot of times it was clairsentience. I could feel the effervescence come into the room, and then I would get pictures, or yeah, I wouldn't say hear a voice as in so when I was the 19-year-old one, that was a voice in my head, and it was not my voice.
Okay.
With the angels, it feels different. It feels like a communion, and they give me just enough. And sometimes it's a feeling if the person is feeling something, and sometimes it's a vision if it's really important that I see something. So it can come in a lot of different ways, but mostly it's just my senses, and also just claircognizant. So I just get information, and I don't know how it comes.
Hmm. And in healing, like when people come to you in healing, is it more mental, like depression, anxiety?
Well,
That's what.
because I was a psychotherapist, that was
Right.
most of my clientele, and I find that, because we're all intuitives, whether we know it or not, and whatever your specialty is, like whatever your medicine is. So I'm a mind master. So a lot of my gift is helping people with their mind, helping
Right.
people feel better, find mental balance. Where a lot of people that I train, a lot of them are nurses, or medical professionals. So those people end up being really amazing medical intuitives, because the body is their specialty. So just
Right.
depending on what our artistry is, and what kind of work we're here to do, it just amplifies what it
Right.
is.
Oh, I love that. I just even finding that for you, like to take that to that next level is just beautiful. So I get your book and I start reading the beginning, and I know I look back, I'm telling you, I always reflect and relate to days in my life when I had absolutely nothing. And I just opened a business with nothing, bought a house with nothing. And I just trusted. And I would go to the bank and just write a number on a piece of paper and pray to God that that number, when I asked for the balance, would come, and it would. And I had no
Oh,
clue. But
wow.
I just remember it was like I mean, people that listen to this podcast know my story, so I don't need to go too deep into it, but I just was at a place in my life that I needed to start doing something. And I realized I had magic and I knew how to turn it on.
Yeah.
And so when I started to I know that I don't have money, but I'm going to open a day spa. I know that I don't have money, but I'm going to buy a house. I know that I don't have money, but there's a fire in the spa. And thank you, angels, for creating the fire now I have money. I know that, and so I look back at those moments and when I'm looking at your life. So when 2020 came for you, and you have two girls as well that are going into quarantine at home, my magic moment was I had 2 days before they went into lockdown, it was start a podcast. And I'm like, what? I have a fifth grader and an eighth grader, and I'm driving them around. I have barely enough time to do the chores, and then go back to, pick them up. And I thought, okay. And 2 days later, their school got closed. And I thought, oh, that's why I got that message. So I didn't know why, but I wanted to, I know when you say yes, that's when the magic goes. And even if you think it's the wrong thing, go anyway.
So true. Oh gosh,
Right?
I say that all the time. Yeah, stagnation kills the magic. You just got to move, keep
Yeah.
moving, because that's when spirit can show you. That's when the cosmic forces and the good natural forces can show you how supported you are.
Right. And that I just feel that fear gets the roadblocks up, the moment you have that self-doubt or, questioning it. And I always say to anybody, just keep saying yes. And if it feels good, just keep going. You'll find a detour if it doesn't. Right.
Yes, so
So
true.
let's go to that moment, because this is what sparked the book. And I know you wrote the first book, and I need to read that now because I am now realizing, oh my gosh, I love you. I love your story. I love how you connect. And that I've had women on this show that do communicate with the archangels. Belinda Womack. Have you heard of Belinda?
No, I
Okay,
haven't.
so she channels the archangels, but now I'm in your book and there's these angels in there that I've never even heard of,
I know. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I'm thinking,
me neither. I hadn't heard of him either, but I did the research. I did some research to find some that would specifically help with wealth. So
oh my gosh,
yeah, I still don't know them by heart. I have to look at my own book and go, okay.
oh, funny. But let's go to that magic 2020, because I look at 2020, I guess I know a lot of people, it was, there's tragedy and,
Mhm,
heart, all these things that were, going, falling apart. But
mhm.
I always, I'm always looking at things happening for me, and what is the magic in that? And I looked at 2020 as magic for our family and where I was going, and I didn't know where I was going, but I just kept saying yes. So that's where I relate to this beautiful story. So please tell us.
Yes. Well, because my kids were home, and home is my office,
Right.
because I was already living the COVID lifestyle before.
Right.
So I did a lot of online trainings and stuff like that. So, um, and I wanted to be really present. I knew that I needed to be really present for my kids, for my family, and also for myself. So I can do what I was used to doing. And I was right. I was about to launch one of the programs that I launched. And I knew that if I launched it, it just would not be a good situation in our home because I couldn't be present
Right.
as much as I'd want to. So, so yeah, I decided to not launch that, and instead to do some wealth magic, some angel wealth magic, and so I did some research on ancient angels. So when I work with angels, I don't kind of come. I know a lot of people are just channeling angels, and I do too. I do too, but I like the history, and I like it rooted in
Hmm.
tradition.
Right.
So I looked at the ancient angels that magicians had used, that are found in old Judaic mystical texts and things like that. So I did some research on those, looked around, and developed a practice, developed a really short thing. So I called the angels, and I know ritual, because
Right.
my former, there was preparation, right?
Right.
My
That's why
early
I wanted
career.
people to get that before we get into this magic.
Yeah, exactly. So, I know magic. I definitely do. So I dug deep and put together some ritual, and yeah, and then with magic, you do your work, and then you're done with it. So I was done with it. I forgot literally all about it after I was done with it. And then a few weeks later, I got an email that, um, and I asked for an extraordinary amount of money for me, because it's the most I ever asked for. And
Be
and I had
specific because I want you to share it because I think that's amazing.
I asked for $200,000.
Right. I love it.
Um, yeah, to cover, that portion of my income. And and uh and I had previous financial miracles with angels, so I know that they hook a sister up when you're really in need, right?
Yes.
Um, and even when you don't ask, they can hook a sister up. So uh so yeah, I asked, totally knowing it would never happen, right? But I'm just like, hey, I'm just gonna just try it anyways. And yeah, a few weeks later, I got notice that my business had been awarded $150,000.
I love
um
that.
and but the thing was is that I'd never asked for $150,000, and my husband never asked for $150,000. So I told my husband, and he's like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is not a scam." Yeah, so I mean, they didn't give me that extra 50, but I did not kick 150 out of bed. And as a
No.
matter of fact, that money actually did make me way more than that 150,000, because how I used it was towards the business, and that money multiplied.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start into um, the way you explain in this book the steps and it's the limiting beliefs that people have that block the money. I think you call them wealth blockers. Yeah. And how people are unaware. They don't have that awareness that the way they grew up, there's this, I mean, they're blocking their magic, their wealth magic.
Yeah, so the wealth blockers, and how I talk about it in the book is that, imagine that, how you grow wealth is a garden.
Yes.
And
I love that.
yeah, and that, if we don't know about this garden, the garden kind of gets overgrown with weeds. And so those weeds are thoughts or feelings that you're either consciously thinking about yourself, or about your life, or about money, or about wealth, or unconsciously thinking about your wealth. And um, so the wealth blockers are those kinds of beliefs or feelings or patterns that you have that actively prevent you from moving forward, because a lot of people have the 2 steps forward, 3 steps back kind of thing. And there's this like barrier,
Right.
barrier that prevents them from like breaking through.
Right. The journaling, I'm all about automatic writing and talking to my angels. And I do that before I start a podcast every time. And I do that in the morning. And then I look back and I think, wow, that wasn't me talking. That was not my writing. Like I don't even use those words, and I feel that, understanding that when you do free write like you do, that is
Mhm.
part of the magic. Um, and I realized when you were in 2011, you looked back at a notebook that you wrote about writing books, and you were like to your girls, "What the heck? I told myself I was going to write books." Right?
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was mind blowing. It was so accurate. And it was as if I had just written it the day before or something. Like, it was that, like, step by step, because the channeling that I did was like, you're going to teach this. And at the time I didn't know anything about that stuff. So yeah, channel writing is the bomb. It
Yeah.
really is, but you don't really know how much of the bomb it is, until like maybe a year or two later. You go,
Right.
"What?" Yeah.
Right. But talk about there's so many different tools in the book, but the setting this, there's 11 days in this ritual, but before that, you talk about like mirror work, like these little tools that you it's all amazing things that I will teach my girls to do. Cause it's like as a mom, and I know you feel this way too, probably is, you don't want the money doesn't grow on trees, girls, this lack mentality, but you also don't want to raise them and thinking, well, you want that? Oh, here's money. I don't. So there's such a fine line there right now, especially as a teenager, when they're starting to have their independence. One just got her car, and we're trying to explain, gas and insurance and car payment, all the things that it's not just you get a car and you're free to go and then, go buy Starbucks every day.
Exactly. Exactly.
So tell me that. So give us some tools that you can, that you use in your book that you use to manifest your magic money wealth.
Yeah, I mean, I give so many in the book just to cover all the bases. Um, but yeah, I use sigils sometimes, especially if you're someone who has a hard time focusing and you really like want a nice, like consistent boom. This is what I look at, this is what I do. I use a magic, people, well, traditionally in magic, they call them sigils. But I created a really simple way to work with the sigil, create your own and use it as a window or a portal. Think of it as a portal between you and whichever angel you're communicating with, or it's almost like the telephone game, that game.
Right.
Yeah, so it's like a little two-dimensional telephone game. And those work wonderfully.
Will you explain that? I'm not clear. When you say sigil.
So a sigil is the
Sigil.
magic mirror. So
Okay.
traditionally it's called a sigil in magic. So
Got
if you do
it.
any kind of magic, chaos magic, any kind of magic, and actually even archangels, if you look more deeply, they all have their own sigil, which is like a design that you can focus on, that magicians focus on to help call them in, to help focus on their magical operation, whatever magic they're doing. And you can do magic for a variety of different things. So I just did a simple way for people, for people who have no magical experience, just to like have a focal point, because that's really the most important thing, is just here's this thing and I'm going to focus on it. And really all the things that magic does is really just helping the magician focus their energy in a specific way and clear the debris. So the banishing ritual that I put in there, if you're going to do a really powerful meditation or magical operation, or you're working on a really powerful manifestation, the ancients always do like a banishing ritual. So again, I like to ground it in traditional magic as well, and to look at those practices, but it's all about clearing psychic debris so that the seeds you do plant actually grow. Yeah.
Right. Right. When you talk about the altars, you want like create an altar.
Mhm.
It's all of it is just a part of the practice. So okay. Oh, that's right. I'm manifesting this. That's it's just
Pretty
something to alert you.
It's something that for the human psyche to focus on. But when the human psyche focuses, it's not just this conscious mind that's also doing the work, it's the subconscious and the unconscious. And people want to minimize that because, oh, we're just talking psychology. And that's because people don't understand the power that drives the subconscious, which is our eternal selves. That's how we access our soul and access all the eternals. It's through our unconscious mind. So even though I'm saying it's to focus the energy, I'm not talking about just the intellect. I'm talking about that which surpasses human understanding, that aspect of us that all magicians, all ascetics, all initiates know about, and it gets activated in one way or another. So all of our spiritual activations, all of our spiritual awakenings I see it almost as a merging of the unconscious and the conscious mind coming together, almost like an eclipse, how the sun and the moon align. And so there's this alignment where the extraordinary dips into the ordinary and vice versa. And there's a merging, and the character, the personality then changes after that moment, because something is bound to it in the physical structure.
Right.
Somehow. Yeah.
In my life, when I've experienced the magic and I can, I'm in that momentum, and I always feel like the momentum, like the rocks falling down the mountain and you're just like, you're going like, and you get it and you're just going to keep going. And I was in that place in my life. And then,
Mm.
I can catch myself, and I do catch myself because I can have these like self-doubt, what am I doing? How to, when I teach that too, and I hear these people talking like, but I can't. And, my dad or my mom, and I'm thinking, how do you, because I know you do retreats too. Like when I'm picturing you right now in Mount Shasta and people coming to you and, they have their stories and, all the things that they have been, the hamster wheel of their mind. How do you get that spoke to stop? How do you get them to, do you have magic in that to get those limiting beliefs to be more empowering and believe in that they can be, do, or have anything?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's interesting you ask because this land is actually particularly adept at helping people drop the stories already.
Oh, wow.
Just drop the stories. Yeah, people, we have a kind of an ongoing joke. It's kind of a dark joke, but people come here to die so that they can be reborn
Huh.
in certain ways. So I do a lot of nature work here because for me now the work is about opening people's awareness of the divine within nature, because it's no different than working with angels, but people also need to come down to earth to feel safe,
Right.
and to find the beauty here. But yeah, there is people have a commitment to believing that their stories is all there are. And
Mhm.
so my work is helping open up the doorway for them to experience the other inside of them, and then they can make a choice, so that they know which character is speaking. Is it my personality, or is it, the other part of me that's working its best to emerge if I just get out of the damn way?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's say someone's they played the record, they're, 50 years old and there's never been enough. I never have had enough and da 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 da. So we go to Mount Shasta.
Go to Mount Shasta. That's all
Do I tell them to go to Mount Shasta?
done and done. Yeah. I mean, another medicine that I work with is actual plant medicine. And that's been part of my path for about 14, 13 years. And, those heart medicines in the right set and setting, of course, in the right context, can really help us learn how to get out of our head, because those stories only exist in the head. They
Right.
only exist in the head. It's this psychodrama that keeps going on and on because we don't know how to access the other part of ourselves, but it's actually quite simple. It's just a bad habit. So young children are in their hearts.
Right.
That's why they have such a good time, even when they stumble and fall. Um, so, so yeah, any method that will teach you more about your heart and disarm the old, it's just a habit, it's just an addiction to
Mhm.
the thing with the most magnetic pull, which a lot of times is our trauma. But I feel right now on the planet, people have a serious opportunity to shed those old stories in very magical and miraculous ways. The consciousness or the light here is so much easier to access than it was. I've been
Hmm.
doing this work for a while too, and people are getting it faster than I've ever seen them before.
Huh.
People are literally walking out, but a lot of times it's just shut your butt, quit
Right.
talking about it.
Right.
Just quit
Exactly.
talking about it and start listening more. Less talking, more listening. And because people don't know how to listen,
Hmm.
because they're so busy talking in their head.
Right. So you have seen a shift in people that have been coming to you. They're more open. They're more.
Oh, for years though, for years. Yeah.
Oh.
You work with the angels, you work with the light, you focus on the light. Yeah, people drop their stories, and they can do it. The ones that are really meant to or wants to often do at least a huge reduction, but we see a lot of shedding here. We see a lot of shedding here, and we also see a lot of connection being made here, connecting with that deeper source. Because once you access the deeper source, it kind of naturally will dissolve some of the story, or not dissolve it, but help you really receive the blessing or the lesson or the wisdom from it, as
Hmm.
opposed to hang out in the wound of it.
Right. But that picture, I went back to you in the car at 19, and you had that message, but you still went back to that.
Exactly.
Huh.
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of us do. A lot of us do. And I was it was very dense, the energy that I was in. Um, I was so polluted from growing up in darkness and my mom dying and all of that. I didn't have a chance to not get out of that, but it gave me enough of the medicine, I think, to sustain me, or to at least open up some quick questions, something
Right.
to be curious about.
Right. Like
Yes.
have hope. Like I know there's that feeling, or going back to that feeling that, and I know everyone's listening going, I want that experience. I want to do that. But let's talk about when you give people something to how to call their angels, and what would be your beginner's method. Like if someone's saying, gosh, how do I start if I don't read that book and I need angel magic or angel, what would be like a quick morning routine or daily
Yeah.
thing that you would say to do?
Okay. First of all, so I'm just checking in with the angels on how they want me to answer this one for your community. Um, they're saying that you are already in communication, or everyone is already in communication with the angels. And part of the problem is not being aware of when the good things are happening, or when there's a movement based on some request. So they want you to know you're already doing it. You don't have to make a big grandiose experience, thing about it. You could just say, hello, hi, I'm curious about you. And for the folks that are stuck in the stories or the limitations, whether it's just a traumatic wound in the past and in the brain that makes you keep on rotating over and over again, because trauma is trauma. It's very hard to unlock some of that without help, consistent help. So the angels can get in there and help you find a different song to play in your
Right.
mind. So you can, Archangel Michael is, that's the one I worked with the most in the beginning. And I think that's the one that most people know about. But if you're in a really dark space, he's the one who just can go in there and just open up your heart a little and take slough off some of the darkness, some of the deadness, really just off of the heart. And so I just say, call on them. And if you want a good, beautiful, amazing, powerful starter angel, you can ask Archangel Michael to come and open your heart and release you from pain, to release you from suffering, and to ask to help you, please help me release my addiction to suffering, or my habit of needing to suffer. Also, what they're saying right now, some people don't even know it's possible to have an identity without their pain and suffering. Some people resist transformation because who am I without this story and without this baggage? So start dreaming up a different identity of, God, what would it be like if all this stuff went away? If I was less committed to this, if I took my commitment away from this energy over here and just put some of it over in this other direction towards, I want to feel more playful, or maybe I should try and have more fun, have more love, get more creative, paint more. So it's just like a little simple, some of it is just a choice. You always have to just make a choice. In any magical act, you just make a choice.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's fine. I always say, find joy, find something to make you happy, raise your vibration, if you go outside, turn on a song,
Yeah.
it's not hard, but
Yeah.
people love that story and they love that wheel
Yeah.
that just keeps spinning. And I just, if you can get to that place where you have that little tiny, like, flip of a switch that you realize, okay, I'm doing it again. Go find the song, go find the
Yeah.
tree, go find the leaves
Yeah.
and the birds.
Yeah.
And I see the world, you know, where, the last, since 2020, since, the whole COVID, really, like, it stopped the world. And I think they started to open up their eyes to listening to people like you, and, becoming interested in the magic, and being more open to that. And I don't know if the world's vibration and frequency has shifted. So we're all moving here, or people like you are here. So one person here helps the whole, planet. What is your take on where we're going and all that and what's happening?
Yeah, I mean, I feel that there's, again, it's invitations, and we're getting invited as a collective closer into the heart. I think of it as into a different chamber of the heart, you
Hmm.
know. And so a lot of us are receiving that invitation and going through a big transformation. Some of that transformation looks really terrible on the outside. But part of our task is my task anyways, it's probably not everybody's work, but I know I'm here to hold a vision of beauty with whatever it is that I see that's happening in the world. And I know there's other of us called to do the same. And so my focal point will always consistently be about the most beautiful transformation for all of us, all of our hearts, all of our minds, and for all beings here and in other realms. So I believe that we are in a process of transforming. We're a bit in the anus of the transformation, meaning, it's easy to see the stinky and, and
Right.
the less beauty. But I feel like it's an important transformation, because even if you look at our own individual micro lives, when you look at the darkest portals, which we've been talking about a lot so far in this conversation, where they lead, if we allow the transformation, is quite extraordinary, miraculous even. So I have to believe that if life is a fractal and we're a microcosm of the macrocosm, that what is true for our own individual lives is also true for a planetary scale, but it's also our choice whether or not we accept the invitation. So my goal is to inspire people to accept the invitation towards more love, more hope, more joy, more beauty now, so that more of us can open up the pathway for others to do the same. And this is the collective hope and promise. And that's when we experience actual heaven on earth, which I have definitely experienced here.
Yeah.
In this land here in Shasta, it's real, and the energy of it is real. And because I know it and I've seen it and I've experienced it, I'm very passionate about it.
Right. What makes an energy in a certain place that magical?
Well, I think it's a combination of the energy and the intention of the people. So people who actually make their way out here, because it is a pilgrimage to
Right.
get out
Oh,
here, people who make their way out here are heart beings and powerful. Generally, they're just really powerful people. So it's the intention of the people. If we choose to make more bridges with each other, then build walls. Okay, so if we look at people who want to build literal walls around the
yep.
country, right? Versus
Yep.
people who are curious, open-minded, and love, just love people, even if
Hmm.
they don't know them, just love them. Those people, we need more of those people holding a beautiful vision and not letting the dark side keep us in that lower frequency, sink us down. So I think it's the intention of the people, more and more of us, and critical mass.
So we could make that anywhere. We can make the magic where Mount Shasta has. And
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think it's just here. I think we're seeing the precursor of it here, because the portal, the what do you call it? It's a vortex. My
right.
land has a vortex on it, but you can, the membrane's just a little thinner. So the love here flows, and the mercy and the grace flows here, the peace flows here. But if we send it out, but yeah, the intention of the people, and if you choose to be a bridge all the way, not just half the way.
Right. Oh, I love that. What you just said, I think I'll rewind and listen to that a few times.
Really?
So yeah, it was, I don't know if you even know what you were saying, because it was so beautiful. It's like it was just flowing out. I'm like, oh my gosh, your words. It's beautiful.
I have no recollection of what I just said.
I was kind of thinking that. I'm like, I wonder if she's was just coming through her. No, I
Something
loved
about
it.
bridges, but yeah, that.
Yes. So let's close it up, but I wanted to, so they can find you at your website at coringrillo.com. But you have programs and you have a 7-day. What are things that you're offering right now and your retreat besides your
Mhm.
books?
Oh yeah, beside the books, yeah, I'm teaching right now. I'm teaching a class called Divining Guidance, and it's kind of a series for modern day prophets, people who are just kind of having big transformations and wanting to understand more about at a soul level what's being called of them, and
Hmm.
working with the lands and angels and all the good things. So it's essentially like an intuitive and spiritual gifts course. So I teach those, and I teach a 6-month training as well. And I have a member site called The Inner Sanctum, and I send out audios new fresh audios, channeled audios every Sunday, to really support our community in whatever transformation they're going through. This year, we're focusing a lot on illumination. So Spirit, at the beginning of the year, the angels kind of were like, we know it's goal time, and setting goals is great, but you guys need to really contemplate this goal. And the goal was, what would it be like to be fully illuminated in this lifetime? Uh,
Uh,
yeah, to bring in just full enlightenment. I mean, it was pretty, it was interesting for me to have to break the news.
oh, funny.
But like, why not contemplate that? Because we need more powerful spiritual folk on the planet that are
Right.
pumping love juice.
Right. Do you think if there's earth angels or people are come to this earth to just do that? Like they don't have any other purpose in life but to come and shine their light? Like I mean, I've heard the word earth angels, but that just kind of sparked in my mind. Do you believe in that?
Yes. I mean, I see it more as people who are called to like your podcast or the work that I do are I call it to bring their medicine, whatever it is. And so if they're deeper medicine. So yeah, people came here for this. I think, I know I came here for this. I came here for the first 50 years of my life was a drill,
Hmm.
was training, and now we're in the real thing.
Right.
And so, our whole, if I think of my life as preparation, like I was in
Yeah.
military training for a long
Right.
time on how to hold my damn frequency when stuff is coming unhinged.
Right. So true. And I know there's something to do with even when you turn 50, because I know it's like in every 7 years, like there's a shift. And I
Yeah.
know, because I know in my life when I turned 50, and I look back at my life too, as that was all preparation, and I don't look at age as, I just look at it as like it just gets better and better.
Oh gosh, I love it. Oh, whoa. Like when I turned 50 which was a couple of years ago. I mean, was it? No, it was only a year ago. Okay. Time. What is it anyways? But I just was I couldn't even believe my good graces, because the energy totally changed yet again, and it got just more fun. It
Right. I
got a
know. I
lot
love
of
it.
fun.
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
I love it. Oh, it's been so fun. Thank you for your time, for being here, sharing
Oh,
your magic, uncovering your magic.
yeah, thank you, Ashley. And gosh, I mean, I'm just going to call you, the Barbara Walters of spiritual interviewers. You got me. You broke me down in tears.
Oh, funny. Leave it to me. I asked the question.
It's so great. How dare you? Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, thank you so
Oh,
much for inviting me on, and thank you so much for doing the work that you do too.
oh, I love it. But it's so wonderful to meet you. Thank you.